right, your learning goal today is I can use a squared, sorry about what it looks like, plus b squared is equal to c squared to find the missing side lengths of a right triangle. I can also explain how scale factor can affect the dimensions and the area of a dilated figure. In other words, I'm going to explain how scale factor affects the perimeter and area of a figure. And many of you struggled with these two things on our last spiral assessment, so we will be having these things on our assessment next week. So let's get our notes and get started. Says dilations. By the way, let's talk about what dilations do again. Dilations, it is always multiplying. You are multiplying by a scale factor. And so dilations make a figure smaller or larger. So in other words, if your scale factor is less than 1 and you multiply something by times a number that is less than 1, it's going to make it smaller. If you multiply a number by something larger than 1, then it's going to make it bigger. So dilations also can affect the perimeter and area of a figure. And when we say perimeter, we're really talking about the side lengths, okay? To find the new perimeter of a dilated figure, you multiply the original perimeter, or we'll call that the old perimeter, you multiply it by the scale factor to the first, spell right, April, first power. So old perimeter times scale factor to the power of 1, which is just whatever the scale factor is, gives you a new perimeter. And I've been through this, I know I have, but some of you will think, I've never heard this before. I know. To find the new area of a dilated figure, you will multiply the original area by the scale factor squared. So let's look. So original or old area times a scale factor squared gives you a new area. Okay? And we have that basically here. Scale factor to the power of 1, scale factor to the power of 2, which is scale factor squared. So let's see what these say. It says let's practice. If a rectangle is dilated by a scale factor of 6, how many times bigger is the new perimeter? Well, remember, we're talking about perimeter, so the scale factor is to the power of 1. So 6 to the power of 1, if you put 6 to the power of 1, and I'll show you this just so we understand, 6 to the power of 1 is actually, get out of exponent land, 6, okay? Second plus 7, 1, 2, I want to clear my RAM there. And so that is 6. So your new perimeter is going to be 6 times larger. Okay? If a hay bin is dilated by a scale factor of 1/2, how many times bigger is the new perimeter? Is the new perimeter really going to be bigger if you're multiplying by 1/2? I don't like that word. So let's see how many times different is the new perimeter going to be. Well, if your scale factor, we're talking about perimeter, so perimeter is to the power of 1, okay? So scale factor is 1/2 to the power of 1, which is really just 1/2 times smaller, actually. Okay, so it will be smaller if you're multiplying by something less than 1. Okay, because they didn't give us what the actual perimeter was. They're just wanting to know how many times bigger or smaller it's going to be. A four-wheeler is 7 times the size of a scooter. How many times bigger is the four-wheeler's area? So now I'm in squared land. So scale factor is 7, and since we're talking about how many times bigger the area is, we have to do 7 squared. And 7 squared, when you put in 7 to the power of 2 or squared, you find out that it is 49. So it will be 49 times bigger or larger, however you want to say that. A bobcat is 3 times the size of a cat. How many times bigger is the bobcat's area? So area is squared. Scale factor is 3 squared, which 3 squared is not 6. You have to get that out of your head that that's 3 times 2. It's not. It's 3 times 3, which is 9 times larger or bigger, however you want to say that. Okay? This is more like a test question would be. Okay? The Atlantic Ocean is 4 times the size of the Arctic Ocean. Which statement is true? All right, so we're talking about 4 times, so that's my scale factor. So if my scale factor is 4, the perimeter is 4 times larger. The area would be 4 squared, which is 16 times larger. So let's see which one makes sense. And this is how I do these problems. I say perimeter, what will it be, and area, what will it be, before I even read my answer choices. So here I've got area is 4 times. No, we said the area has to be 16 times. Area is 8 times. Nope, that's for you who do 4 times 2 instead of 4 times 4. That's wrong. Perimeter is 4 times the perimeter. There we go. There we go. 4 times perimeter. Okay? So that's what we needed right there. This one said 16, which would be incorrect. Okay? Number 6. Now this is very abstract. All right? And we have seen a test question that looks just like this. And that's why we're going over this. So it says triangle ABC is dilated by a scale factor of 2/3 to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. That means this is the old. Remember these little symbols there mean this is the new. Okay? The perimeter of the triangle ABC is X units. So they're just saying the perimeter is X units. They're not saying 23 units. They're just saying an abstract X units. Our scale factor was 2/3. Remember, 2/3 to the power of 1 because it's perimeter we're talking about. So what is the perimeter of the triangle? And they're asking you, because do you see how they've written all these? They're asking you to say, what is the perimeter described in abstract ways here? All right? So we would have, to find the new perimeter, taken X times 2/3, which is equal to 2/3 X. Okay? So you take the old perimeter times the scale factor to find the new perimeter. So the only one that works is right here, B. Okay? If they had told us, and this is an example, what if they had told us that the perimeter was 4 and the scale factor is 2/3? Okay? I would have done, with a scale factor 2/3, I would have just taken 4 times 2/3, and I would have put that in my calculator, 4 times parentheses 2 divided by 3 parentheses, and I would have gone math, enter, enter, because it's just nicer as a fraction, 8/3. So I would have known that my new perimeter is 8/3 the time, 8/3, okay? This was the scale factor, all right? If you had done 4 in thirds, it would be 12/3, and that's why you see it is smaller than 8/3 is smaller than 12/3. So just realize this, if they give you the perimeter in X units, you're just taking your perimeter times the scale factor, which I did right here, and getting your answer. Okay? Warning, Will Robinson, there will be one on your assessment next week. Looks very similar to this. Okay? All right. Pythagorean Theorem. This is another subject that many of you had issues with. Okay? So let's see what I can rattle your little cages, okay? Remember that the Pythagorean theorem only works on, or works with, right triangles. Pythagorean theorem is used to find a missing side of a right triangle, okay? The formula for Pythagorean theorem, and a lot of you even already forgot that because you don't go and look at your mathematics chart. It's on here. How many of you can see it right now? Well, I sure hope you can find it. It's down here under additional information, Pythagorean theorem. There it is, okay? And a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, okay? A and b are the legs. C is called the hypotenuse. You can hear it called the longest side. You can also hear it referred to as the diagonal side of a right triangle. This is a key word right here. Anytime you see the word diagonal in a question, you will need to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve it, okay? A lot of you refuse to draw a picture. If they tell you that you're talking about a rectangle or a triangle, or Johnny walks this way, then turns and walks that way, draw a picture of that, okay? So Josh is building a fence around his property that is 67 yards long and 55 yards wide in the shape of a rectangle. Oh my goodness, let me draw a rectangle. 67 yards long and 55 yards wide. He would also like to fence across his property, there's that key word, diagonally. So here's my diagonal. How much fencing will he need to fence the diagonal only? So I've got, remember we did that to identify which one is our hypotenuse, all right? So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now some of you still need the old way. So I am going to do this two different ways. If I do it this way, I need to identify one as A, one as B, so 67 squared plus 55 squared is equal to C squared. I go in my calculator and I do 67 squared plus 55 squared, and I get 7514 is equal to C squared, and that answer is going to be there. But it's wrong because they don't want to know what C squared is. Remember, that's the square off of the side length C. They want to know what C is, and to undo a square, you have to take the square root. So second square root 7514, and I get this long number, and I'm going to cut it off at the hundredths place. So I'm going to write 86.68. 86.68, okay, would be my answer for C. Now, that's the long way, and I'm good with that, okay? I think y'all should probably do it that way. But if you can remember that the square root of a squared plus b squared equals the square root of c squared, then you could go in and put square root 67 squared plus 55 squared is equal to square root of c squared. So C, and then go ahead and put this in all at the same time. Second square root 67 squared plus 55 squared. I'll bet you $100 there's one person sitting in that room right now that's not touching their calculator. At least one person. Look around the room. Okay, they're just writing this down, and then they're not going to know what to do when it's time to do it. Okay, I see it happen every day, and then once you finish, you're like, well, what do I do now? And I'm supposed to help you. Okay, this is your time. Do it with me, all right? And hit enter, and I get 8668. Same thing, okay? 8668. All right, let's try another one, okay? The width of it's a rectangle, okay? It says the width of the rectangle is 3 feet, okay? And the diagonal is 8 feet. Ooh, so now they've given me the diagonal, okay? So it says, what is the length? So they want to know what this is. And I'm just going to use B there. I know that this is C, and that can be used as A. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Then I have 3 squared plus B squared is equal to 8 squared. Remember, you have to subtract. You have to get B by itself. So subtract 3 squared. And I get B squared is equal to 8 squared minus 3 squared. And I get 55. One more step, because that answer will be there if it's a multiple choice answer. I promise you. 55. So then I have to take the square root, because I'm undoing a square. And I get B is equal to second square root 55, and I get 7.416. Now, in this case, the 6 would make that 1 a 2. So 7.42. Okay? If I wasn't sure and I'd forgotten to put my calculator, remember how I showed you to round to the nearest hundredths? Guess what I could do? Mode, go down, go over to enter, hit that 2, second and quit. Now watch this. Enter. It did it again, and now it rounded it to the nearest hundredth for me. Isn't that awesome? Okay. I'm going to show you the other shortcut. Remember that here we took C and we subtracted A, didn't we? And it works C subtract B too. Either one works. So what you could do is this. When it is a leg you're looking for, you always do C first because it's the largest. Take away B squared is equal to A squared. And you could manipulate those any way you want. Remember the legs, it doesn't matter which one is A or which one is B. So I could have just done the square root of 8 squared subtract 3 squared gives me A squared, and I need to do the square root of that to find out what A is. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do 8 squared minus 3 squared, and I'm going, I forgot, second square root, 8 squared minus 3 squared. Get out from underneath that square root symbol, hit enter, 742, same answer. And I could have done this one as A or this one as B. It doesn't matter. The legs are interchangeable. It's just C that matters, which it always has to be C. Okay, the diagonal always has to be C. Last, this is another one that you guys forget what you're doing. Some of you look at me and you're like, am I supposed to count rise over run? And that answer is probably going to be there, okay? When they're talking about distance between points, okay, let's plot these. 4, -3, 4, -3, -2, and +5. Look at them. They want the distance between these two. Can you count rise and run to find that distance? They're not talking about this distance. I can count and find this distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's count this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The problem is there's no way to count a diagonal line. You need the distance of a diagonal line. Now that word is key, is that diagonal line. It has to be A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And if you notice, that is your C. Okay? So I've got 8 squared plus 6 squared is equal to C squared. I'm going to do 8 squared plus 6 squared in my calculator. I get 100 is equal to C squared. That answer will be there. but I need to find and break this apart. So I need to take the square root. C is equal to second square root 100. Get out from underneath there by doing your arrow out button. Hit enter, and C is equal to 10. Okay? So, with that being said, I know I've gone on a long time today, but you have plenty of things on here to do.